Welcome, everybody, to the That Kind of Nerd podcast, a weekly show where we just run down on everything that is nerdy in the world today. This episode is going to be all about Batman v Superman. So if you have not seen it yet, we have something a little special set aside for you, but you might want to stop listening to this one. Now, those who are actually listeners to That Kind of Nerd podcast know that this is not CJ speaking. This is Brian Thornton, and I am joined by CJ, who is here. He just needed a little break from the mediation and the introduction, and we have a special guest. Mr. Jeff Thomas is here.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Jeffrey Thomas.
Unfortunately, Josh could not join us because he is really looking into the Batman and Superman family tree, trying to see if any of their family names match again. So we are hoping for a good outcome to that, and we are going to continue with this episode, which will most likely be named Batman v Superman, aka CJ was right.
Oh, yeah. I was right, sucking motherfuckers.
Okay, so CJ's very happy right now. I see he's got his ravioli and confetti. But I do want to just kind of start off with our initial thoughts here and just ask in like one sentence or less, because I know we're going to go off on tangents. You saw the movie. When you got out of that theater, what did you guys think?
CJ, after you, sir.
In one sentence, what did I say to my wife when I walked out of the theater?
You can say what you texted to me after you walked out of that theater.
Hold on, what did I looked at my wife. I remember I looked at my wife and I said, who the fuck were these characters? I was just at an awesome, terrible loss for words. I was so hurt.
I distinctly remember getting a text message from you saying, "What a shit show!"
What a shit show! That's right. I came out. It was Easter Sunday too. I took time away from my daughter to go to this movie, and then seriously, when I get out, it was at 3:07 p.m.
Chocolate tastes bad.
3:07 p.m. I sent a text message to Brian. Said, "What a shit show!" Very disappointing.
Jeff, what did you think?
My first line probably was, "And here's another Spider-Man 3." And I say that out of partial love. Like, again, I was a mixed bag. I'm a little bit less so now because I did get to see it again. But yeah, that was the reaction.
You willingly saw this again?
I had to make sure that I
just
wasn't
double check.
Drunk.
Jeff, I did the same thing too. I saw it and I got out, and after getting over the fact that shit, CJ is never going to let me hear the end of this, I was like, what a huge disappointment. I was very upset with a lot of different things that I want to get into. But before we start raging on the movie, because I know we're going to pick it apart, and this entire episode is going to be a shit on DC moment here.
I hope you brought extra toilet paper, guys.
Oh, no. Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder are at fault for this, not DC.
It falls under the shit on DC category.
It does. But I want to talk about what we did like, because there were some things that was in that movie that I did like. And I think we're going to be all in agreement here. I thought Ben Affleck was great as Batman. Yep. I thought
Absolutely.
That was one of the strongest parts of that movie. Anything, I mean, and I know I have other things, but I want to let you guys talk for a couple minutes. Jeff, let's start with you. What were the few things that you did like about this movie?
What I really enjoyed, obviously, was Batman. And I think Batman didn't necessarily need this origin story they provided, but I did enjoy the action sequences outside of a couple. Now, the spoiler tag has already been thrown. So Batman kills. I did not appreciate that. I didn't appreciate Batman not being necessarily my interpretation of Batman. But, and the comics, I guess, interpretation.
Well, and it doesn't seem like he ever killed on purpose. It was just, I'm just going to throw this car and whatever happens, bro.
No.
He had machine gun turrets on the Batmobile.
Killed on purpose.
And the Batwing.
He shot that car to blow it up.
I'm just saying, I mean, it could just be he's throwing caution to the wind. Who knows?
No.
But I will. The big thing is I really enjoyed Ben Affleck's interpretation. I thought Ben Affleck did a great job as Bruce Wayne and a great job as Batman for what the script gave him.
Right.
I will say that.
You know what? Exact same thing, Jeff. Batfleck was phenomenal. And as Bruce Wayne, the semi-super spy thing that he was, the little 007 thing at the cocktail party, great. But to me, the biggest takeaway, the best positive thing, the thing that I liked throughout the entire movie was Wonder Woman.
Yes,
I thought Gal Gadot did an amazing job. The story that every frame that she was in, every scene that she was in is perfect. Don't fuck with it. Leave it alone. Cut the rest of the movie and figure it out.
So I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think those are the two strongest parts about this movie. I think Ben Affleck was a very good kind of tortured soul Batman, but he pulled off some of the Bruce Wayne stuff. And I like the fact that they did more with Bruce Wayne in this movie than they really have. Him doing some more Batman-esque stuff in the Bruce Wayne persona, not just putting that kind of mask on, was really cool to see.
And I thought that Jesse Eisenberg played a fantastic Joker. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He was Lex. I'm sorry. He was
Yes.
Lex Luthor.
I was about to rage and just rage quit the
we'll
entire
get to that.
podcast if you said Lex Luthor.
No. We'll get to that in a moment. I do want to say one more thing about Gal Gadot. Yes, this movie did get me excited to see the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
And let's face it, they're going to continue. It did make a crap ton of money. It made about $170 million opening weekend.
This is the biggest superhero opening weekend, right?
It's one of Warner Brothers' biggest openings ever. So, I mean, it made the money.
I contributed to that.
But I would definitely say Gal Gadot's performance was fantastic. And the moment I fell in love with her was at that party. And I don't know if any of you saw this. When they're at the party, Lex Luthor's giving that speech and he starts talking about Greek gods and he's doing this awful job at it. And she does this little like eye roll, like, oh my God, you have no idea what you're talking about.
You know what came to my head during that? It was, excuse the French, but fuck boy. Like she's just thinking to herself, this fuck boy is trying to like give a speech. What?
and she's like, I mean, I lived with them. I don't know what. Okay. So I thought she was amazing. I thought Ben Affleck was fantastic. Obviously, Jeff, I agree. The action sequences were great. The just visually, I mean, you can't take this away from Zack Snyder.
The stuff that Zack Snyder always excels at, he excelled at. And then the rest of the movie is what was crap.
He made a beautiful movie. It's just that it wasn't a great movie.
Made it aesthetically pleasing. I think beautiful is too hard of a word.
He made an aesthetically pleasing
There's less
movie.
color and
don't worry, because Metropolis and Gotham are right across the bay from each other, so this completely makes sense.
There's a geography issue there.
Let me reference that because actually we've never had a Batman movie or a Superman movie reference Gotham before. And to be completely honest with you, in the comic book, they're pretty close together. You can get to Metropolis by like a hour and a half train ride.
This is where we need Josh. Where is another major city this close to another metropolis? Metropolis to metropolis. It's like having New York a stone's throw away from.
Oh my gosh!
I thought it was like DC versus New York. I thought that was the distance.
That's
or
so
like
true.
Assumed that's the distance because that makes sense.
You're quibbling over a fictional city in a fictional America.
I don't know if you know this. This whole thing is fictional, and we're going to quibble over it for like an hour and a half.
I mean,
across a river? Why wouldn't Superman have beaten Batman before? Like, that's my thing. Like,
I do definitely see that point. I definitely see that maybe these
or
cities
when
should be so
Metropolis
close
was getting
together.
his ass kicked, how the fuck did Gotham get out unscathed?
Right.
exactly.
Right. That's definitely some issues that are definitely alarming. Something that really they should have thought about when really crafting the story. But before we kind of get into that nitty gritty of all the horribleness about the story, I do want to spend some time on some of the characters as well. So we touched on Wonder Woman, we touched on Batman. And I want to talk a little bit about Superman and Lex.
Are we going to talk more about Batman because there's still some big problems first?
Okay, well let's narrow it down here. So CJ,
Yeah, Batman has issues.
Okay,
let's finish up your Batman. What are you upset about over Batman?
Here's the problem. Batman is a smart motherfucker.
Yes.
All right. Batman is not easily manipulated, duped, seduced, or
Hashtag this guy's been doing it for 20 years.
yeah, and then he's easily manipulated by Lex Luthor, who apparently obviously has no objective. We'll get to that in a minute too. He's so manipulated. He's getting twisted and plays into the hand of Lex Luthor like he's a noob.
Yeah, that was a huge problem I had with the movie. I really
Where's the
put more of that
detective?
under story.
Okay,
Where
so
was
the
the
Dark
detective?
Batman,
Yeah.
the Dark Batman, which Zack Snyder and Goyer tried to pursue here, was cool. I like the Dark Batman, like the brutal Arkham City, Arkham Knight Batman from the games. He's breaking bones, he's beating the crap out of people. But the thing that makes him interesting isn't just him in action sequences. It's that he never kills. He always pursues like a bigger objective. And this Batman he was a moron. He was a freaking moron. And
he was
that he
not
couldn't see.
smart at all and very easily manipulated, which is something that Batman's the type of character that he's always got a contingency plan, and then he's always got a contingency for that contingency plan. And he's never just had the wool pulled over his eyes so easily by somebody like Lex Luthor, especially. Like,
and it happens in like 2 minutes.
It's a shame, because that's so not true to the characters, and that's what I wanted to get into. Because not only did we fail at really presenting Batman as the character that we all know and love, this failed on a lot of them.
God, did we bastardize the fuck out of Superman?
Superman is not the character he should have been at all.
Superman is loved. All right, there's parts of the society that hate him, but Superman overall is loved because he's heroic. This Superman, everyone fucking hates him. They hate him from the beginning, they hate him through the middle, and they hate him to the end. Superman, so his sacrifice is meaningless.
Superman is also not a 14-year-old boy who shops at Hot Topic. He is not always sad, emo, depressed, and with a permanent scowl on his face. Superman is the ray of light in the DC universe. He is the Captain America of the DC world.
The moral center.
Right, and he's your moral compass. And if he's all fucked up, how do you point north? How do you do that?
Right. And that was a huge miss. And CJ, I know you're a huge fan of the Super family in general, and
I did such a bad job.
I watched this movie and I'm like, oh man, CJ's heart is breaking right now.
I'm not kidding you. So like, here's the thing. There was one particular moment I will pinpoint where, again, okay, so and I had mentioned this in episode 16 when Paul called in and called me out on the double standards I had for Star Wars and for Batman.
For those not
Superman.
playing the home show, CJ went and listened to all of the episodes where we talked about this movie and took notes so he could prove how right he was to me.
I was proved
Please
right.
make a trap music version of it.
So here's what I said. I said I'm really worried about Zack Snyder telling me the state of mind and the point of view of these characters. The story seems weak, and I can't get into the mindset of Batman and Superman, which really translates to I don't think Zack Snyder knows these characters. Here's the moment. Here's the one moment where I sat there and I officially gave up on this movie and then just tried to eat some popcorn for another hour and a half. After he gets done talking to Lex Luthor and he finds out that his mom has been taken hostage, like she's a freaking
Liam.
Then he said to Lex Luthor, I have a very particular set of skills. I can fly really high.
This Lex Luthor doesn't have any skills.
Exactly. He goes to Lois and he says, all right, I need to go to Gotham and I need to go get Batman and I need to either have him on my side or I need to kill him. Fly away. No. Immediately, that's when Lois Lane goes, whoa. Get the fuck back here, please. Can you get back here? Did you just say you were going to kill him? You don't kill. The fact that you killed Zod weighs on you so heavily. The death that happened in Metropolis, you consistently relive this over and over again like it's a terrible nightmare that you can't escape. And you're just opting to go kill another person, a person that you have no problem against. You just want to go save your mom? We missed the character. Superman would never say, I'm going to go kill somebody if they don't help. The line
when he first encounters Batman, sorry to cut you off, but like that line when he first encounters him and he stops the Batmobile and he just goes, consider this mercy. No, that's not Superman. It's not that he's doling out death. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that just completely took me out of the entirety of that entire sequence.
It's something that happened at the end of Man of Steel, and it was the moment where he murdered is the right word, murdered Zod. Zack Snyder lost who Superman was. And there's a lot of people out there, and there's a couple of people that we're going to hear at the end of the show who have said, hey, it's impossible to take the 1950s and 1960s Superman and put him into a world of 2016 with such dark and gritty characters and dark and gritty world. To which I respond, have you fucking seen Captain America? Like, he refuses to swear. He refuses to really hurt people too badly. He is a goody-goody two-shoes. That's what fucking Superman is, and Zack Snyder doesn't get that. Or Chris Nolan or his writing staff don't get
Goyer.
that.
I think it's David Goyer.
David Goyer did do the initial script.
You know he's got a hand in it, though.
I mean, let's face it.
Trust me. Zack Snyder does not get off the hook because I signed the petition that said take him out of every single DC Universe movie after this.
I signed that as well.
You guys are going to have to send me the link. But I do agree with both of you. I think this tone of putting Superman into this Batman box, it does not work. Batman works because that's the character, and that's it makes sense because of the tragedy they came through. And Superman is the exact opposite. That's why we love seeing them together. That's why we love seeing, the Justice League cartoon and even in the comic book, because they balance each other out so well that those moments where Superman is just like ultra goody two shoes, Batman's there to kind of bring him back to reality,
Right.
and vice
Wonder
versa.
Wonder Woman too.
Right. So I definitely feel like there was a complete miss here. There's no chemistry between the characters, not only because we spent 2.5 hours building up to something that didn't matter, but because that dynamic is gone. You've put all of those characters into this dark and gritty box that really is only reserved for Batman. The rest of the DC universe does not fit in this tone. And I think that was the huge miss, is that Warner Brothers or Zack Snyder, whoever is the man behind this is the tone we're going to take with all of our movies.
It's Zack Snyder.
It's completely ridiculous, because that's not how you build a good dynamic and a good team dynamic.
Was there a moment that you guys saw in this movie where you really saw, and I want to focus on Superman true to Superman as you saw him? Besides the conversation with his mom. The conversation with his mom, did you have a moment really?
Maybe Clark Kent at that party. Maybe Clark Kent at the party, because I thought that whole sequence was really cool.
Right,
I like the interchange.
And that was Clark.
Batman.
You know what's funny, though? The moments where you see the Superman that we know from the comic book, he's not Superman. All those moments with Clark Kent, when he's arguing with Perry over, we need to be reporting about this Batman, where like somebody needs to speak up. That is Superman. That's him.
Wouldn't Clark Kent, the man from Kansas who has that Midwestern, I don't want to offend anybody, I don't want to rub it the wrong way, wouldn't he still have written the article about the sports team, but also written an article about Batman?
He really
would
would
have done both.
He probably would have. And I mean, he's got the speed to do it.
Why is Perry saying, don't write about this thing that's a big issue? Like, that's what I don't understand either. It's like, here, talk about local sports instead of the Bat Vigilante that's been active in Gotham for 20 years.
Jeff,
like,
the answer is very simple. It's because Gotham is so far away and not a ways across a river. Never mind. I don't know why.
You literally would you put your Easy Pass in, you pay $2 and you get to Gotham from Metropolis. This is freaking bullshit.
I'm thinking it's more like when you drive from PA to New Jersey. It's
that's
free
what
to
I'm
go
thinking.
in.
That's the bridge.
It's free to go in, but you got to pay to come back.
Do you have to pay to get out of Gotham or Metropolis?
I do want to take one moment, and I want to. Believe me, this isn't going to last very long. I do want to say something that was done right, that was done early, and something that was on my list of concerns, and then quickly did crumble. So it didn't stay fixed for long. One of my main concerns was, why on earth would these two fight? And my other thing that I asked, and I said it in episode 16 again, was, hey, listen.
Do you have minute markers on that?
I'm sorry?
Episode 16 at like 45 minutes and 36 seconds. Do you have the
We need a timer.
I'm just wondering.
It actually is kind of in the 54 range.
Oh my God, I hate you.
I said, the issue came down to this. I don't understand why people are so upset with Batman about, I'm assuming Superman, about what happened in Metropolis. It clearly wasn't his fault. He was trying so hard. And here's what I absolutely loved. The second opening scene, we're going to talk about Batman's fucking origin story again, was getting Bruce Wayne's perspective of driving through Metropolis as it's being destroyed, and you're seeing buildings go down left and right. There's spacecraft plowing through things, destruction and death everywhere you look. You see Bruce save this little girl after almost being squished by a building. You see the laser eyes come through and cut it down, and then you cut away to him, and he's just fucking fuming as to all this destruction. And I went in that moment, and again, this is early in the movie, so I actually had a lot of hope. I went, oh my God. I know why Batman wants to fight Superman now.
This is the motivation.
This is the motivation.
Yep.
And then he changes his story entirely, and he muddies it up, and he's so stupid because then he says, "No, I want to fight him because he's super powerful. He is accountable to nobody, and he could just start murdering the whole world." To which then Batman, who is accountable to no one, super powerful, starts killing a whole lot of people.
There's no stakes. It's like, okay, so if Bruce Wayne dislikes Superman because he'll destroy the world, what is he, and like kill people, that like, this is a new Superman, right? This is 2 years, right? 2 years after the whole Zod
18
incident.
months from Zod.
So everyone knows that Superman killed Zod, the government took his body, all this other stuff. And Batman's had this 2 years to stew about it, but why does it even matter to Batman if Batman already kills people? That's my biggest thing too. It's like I don't know if he describes him
and please
as innocent
remember,
or not, but
the main reason that everyone's so mad at Superman 2 has nothing to do with fucking Metropolis. It's about several dozen people dead in Africa.
And
What?
which was a stupid sequence. Oh my
which
god.
was a completely unneeded sequence.
We're appearing in front of the Senate, right? A small committee in Senate, I should say. And it's not about, hey, you took down a whole fucking metropolitan area and murdered probably 10,000 people. It's, hey, why are there 30 dead people in Africa right now? Why is that? How are you in
Also,
check?
Superman chooses to just destroy this dude instead of just blocking the bullet and taking his gun away. Like, I don't understand why he
God, you're
tackles
so
this
right. I
guy
didn't
through a
even think
fucking
about that.
wall. Like, why does he just destroy this dude and kill him, basically?
Well,
I'm assuming.
It's because of Lois. And you know Superman, he will murder somebody. Wait, no, that's not Superman. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
thinking
not.
Of, I'm thinking of
Here's what
Batman again.
I want to say about what you just said there, CJ.
Please.
Yeah, I you know that sure that's a motivation for Batman, but here's another thing that is not true to the Batman character. Batman does not fly off the cuff. He is that guy who is going to double check, and research and figure out what, his motivations are, and before he decides to just start killing people.
Why
he
didn't
says
Batman-
he
Go
says
ahead, go
that
ahead.
line, which I have a huge problem with, that he is, again, he's ultra powerful, he's accountable to no one, and he could turn on us at any moment. And then he says to Alfred, he's like, if there is a 1% possibility that could happen, we need to take it as an absolute certainty. And that is not Batman.
Is absolutely against
And that
Batman's
is
character.
not
what's so
Batman
funny,
at all.
though, what's so funny is that Alfred, this is so fucked up. Alfred becomes the voice of Batman. He goes, "You mean we're going to do this as a deterrent, right? This is a precaution just in case shit hits the fan. Like if he goes psycho, which he's done many times in the comics, and
Right.
and something
And
goes
that's what
down,
it should have
that's what
been.
you're going to do? No, dude, I'm designing this weapon to murder him. So
Now,
get on board."
With the darker Batman, now there is a point, after they showed the Robin costume, they showed all this stuff, but they never explained it okay, so if they made this movie for common viewers and not comic viewers, why not start the movie instead of a Batman origin story with why Batman got to this place that he's in? Because you know what people know? Why Batman is a hero. They know why he saves people and why he beats the crap out of villains.
Brian said, I was like, I don't understand Batman. And Josh and Brian were like, how the fuck do you not get Batman? If you go to a homeless man and say, hey, do you know Batman? He can probably tell you the origin story. So why the fuck are we spending 20 minutes of this movie doing the origin story?
Yep.
That was a
Yep.
huge
Why?
problem. All right, so there's a couple more characters I want to touch on here. I want to talk a little bit about the villains, because CJ touched on good old Joker. I mean, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, man.
Oh my god.
What a huge miss. Listen, I think Jesse Eisenberg's a great actor.
And he did a good
And he
job.
did a good
again,
job
with
with what
He
was
went
character.
100% into that.
But that's not
it was
that's
wrong.
not Lex Luthor. It's not his character.
Absolutely every single actor that was in this movie did a phenomenal job with their character and with the script that they had. They were great. There wasn't a weak link within that cast. Great actors. Terrible writing and bad characters, though, which is also my concern for Suicide Squad.
Doesn't matter how
Yep.
good the actor
And
is.
Exactly,
They can't
doesn't
sing.
matter.
You can just tell that the movie is cut together. You can just tell it. And I hate when my buddy, one of my good friends, Dan, mentioned to me before the movie even started, he's like, well, I heard there's going to be an hour rated R extended cut. And I'm like, I don't want to know that going into the movie, because now I'm just expecting this, it's like Watchmen. It's the Zack Snyder fucking thing where he goes in there, he doesn't give okay, Watchmen was a little bit
Watchmen
better,
was
right?
a good movie.
Sucker Punch. Go for Sucker Punch.
All right, we'll use Sucker Punch because I did enjoy Watchmen as well. But you have this source material and you just blatantly shit all over it the entirety of the movie, and then wait for the freaking release of the movie in order to get the full thing. That's bullcrap. That's like releasing your game in alpha. You know what I mean? You don't do that.
So let's get back to Lex Luthor.
Let's get back
'cause
to Lex, because
I want to
Sorry,
focus on
because-
that. No, I'm in the same boat. Listen, and listen, listener. I hope you realize we don't have a detailed script in front of us as to what we're going to say.
we're just passionate, listener.
and this is what's happening. So Lex Luthor. Okay, Brian,
Yes, CJ.
you had a point that I got to bring up, and that was when he met with was it the senator from Kentucky? Is that
Yes.
who
Well,
she-
okay. So Holly Hunter plays the senator of Kentucky, and the first time you meet Lex Luthor,
She plays Rand Paul.
yeah, I mean, the first time you meet Lex Luthor, it's her and her like side crony, whoever this older dude is. They go to meet Lex Luthor, and he's like playing basketball. And he's like, "Hey, I'm genius. Whatever. We found this kryptonite. Yay!" And he's trying to get fun. He's trying to get permission to bring the chunk of kryptonite into the country. My main problem with this entire scene is that after he pretty much gets denied, and Holly Hunter's like, "I'm not gonna let you do this," this older guy pulls him aside and says, first thing he says, "Maybe we can help each other." And Lex Luthor's like, "Great, I want access to the ship. I want access to Zod's body." And he's like, "Sure." What does he get in return?
A Jolly Rancher.
Thank you. He gets a cherry Jolly Rancher.
Seductively fed to him by Lex Luthor, which I'm just like, we don't see the deal that Lex Luthor brokers with this guy. We don't
Can we
see
not just
anything.
overshadow the fact that he had a whole bowl and he did choose cherry?
Took him a while.
I
to
will
find that
vouch for cherry. Cherry is a good flavor.
It's a good flavor Jolly Rancher. Even as a psychopath, he knows that, hey, listen, I can't give the guy sour apple. That's just not going to work for
but
anybody.
that's the thing.
That's just
He's
an
not a psychopath.
That's but here's the thing about Lex Luthor. He is a psychopath to a degree, but he's just so smart and he's so good at hiding it. And Lex Luthor is that guy who will hire the guy who hires the guy to do the dirty work, and it never leads back to him. And that was my main problem with this character, is that like he's just, I'm gonna just do whatever I want, and it made it easy to catch him. Lois is the one who exposes him, and he gets thrown in jail. And you're like, but that's not Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's so much smarter than this.
And he doesn't protect humanity either. Lex Luthor is a big proponent of protecting Earth ultimately.
Right.
You know, like I might reference some comics, but like the one he gets elected president. Like this should have been written entirely differently, where the public actually understands and sides with this character, not freaking hates
So
him.
I got two
He's not a
questions.
villain.
I got two questions for this. Why, and I'm really hoping, since you guys saw it twice, you picked up on something I didn't. Why does he hate Batman, and why does he hate Superman?
That's still a good question, in my opinion.
That's the
There's
problem.
no reason.
There's no explanation. There's nothing that tells you this is the motivation of this character. There's not even a scene where he's just like, well, I just want to protect humanity from these metahumans or these aliens. Like, we can't have this. I would have even had that scene just, it's a one-liner, but none of it
You
happened.
could have had it in the scene where he talks about the painting.
The
Right.
note I had was Lex Luthor, ... no motivation, no character, attempting to make sense and failing at it. Jesse Eisenberg going balls deep, not Lex Luthor. That's all I had to say about Lex in my drunken note. Like, it was just like he tried to get places, but then just failed because of I feel like it was the script. I like this Lex Luthor interpretation sometimes as a young Lex Luthor, but I don't like
I
how
like
they wrote
that.
it.
The tech billionaire who doesn't give a fuck about anything. His business card would say, "I'm CEO, bitch."
Like that entrance scene was great.
Right.
I thought that was cool.
Here's the thing. 85% of the time that he was great, that character was spot on. It's when he started getting like, I don't want to, Rain Man-ish. Like when he,
I don't know about 85%. I would say like after an hour, that character got fucked.
those scenes where he starts just like talking nonsensically, what he's saying has nothing to do with what is going on in front of him, and they're attributing it to, oh, he's just too smart for people, but it's not that. It just comes off as psychotic. And it just, that's not the Lex Luthor character. Lex Luthor is the guy who walks in, knows he's too smart for everybody in the room, but makes everybody think that he's just playing along. He's playing a game.
He still relates. He still relates to people.
Right. He's extremely relatable character.
Did he blow up his assistant with the Granny's
Yes.
jar of piss?
Yep.
Yes, which is upsetting because I love Mercy as a character who was introduced in the
Mercy
animated
is
character.
badass.
Yeah, Mercy's great. They didn't give her enough time because she's amazing as his assistant / bodyguard. But that's another scene, another argument for another day.
Another missed opportunity that Zack Snyder blew. Yeah. all
Here's
right.
here's another missed opportunity that I really needed in this movie or in any fashion, because Lex Luthor is so smart and he knows how to not get caught. He knows how to have this grand scheme work out the way he does, and even if it fails, he's never going to see inside of a jail cell. So there's always that scene, And I just keep thinking about like the animated series, because they did it at the end of the first episode, where Superman knows Lex Luthor was behind it and goes to LexCorp and says, I know it was you. And Lex Luthor pretty much goes, good luck trying to prove it. And you have this great like moment that this guy's untouchable, even from this alien who can do anything. Superman can do anything, but he can't touch Lex Luthor somehow because of Superman's morality. He's not just going to throw him in jail. He's not just going to kill him. He's got to prove it. He's got to have something behind it. And Lex Luthor knows this, and he uses it to pretty much get away with anything. And it's always a great dynamic between the two of them, because you have this all-powerful god almost fighting this completely normal person. But
that's that whole
that was
devil
never there.
god thing that they never explored, but they keep talking about it. That's his only motivation, devil god. But you never see him be a human. You see him be this like ostracized psychopath.
Right.
And I'm like, why on earth would anyone even work for this guy? Like, and everyone's like, listen, it's Alexander Jr. And I'm like, okay, well, if they actually showed the actual Lex Luthor come at the end and like thwart his son's plan, that would have been infinitely better.
I think he's dead,
but
though,
he
right?
doesn't.
yes, he is dead.
I mean, in this story, I wish he would have come back. But like at that point, I was just like, this guy's like, why on earth is this guy motivated to do whatever he's doing?
So what about CJ? You look like you want to say something.
No,
more
I was
about
going to
this.
move on to another topic. So go
I was
ahead.
going to move on to Doomsday, because
Man.
I mean, this is going to be a short conversation because Doomsday was only at the last 15 minutes.
Do not reveal a hidden character like this that ends up being the actual big bad, the reason that these two things come together. It's your lost lead. It's the thing that you're supposed to be shocked and surprised at. He was dumb in the trailer. He was dumb here. That's all I have to say.
I will say I was shocked and surprised by how bad he looked.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Well, the speculation was true.
That was
It's
my
like,
main
who
main
is this
problem.
guy?
He wasn't. He was like 8-10 feet tall. He was huge, but he looked like a giant Muppet. Like that was
Yep.
really like the main problem with him. And
My friend said he looked like the one of the trolls, right? The trolls from Lord of the
cave
Rings.
trolls.
Troll.
The cave troll from Lord of the Rings.
And he's supposed to be this brute. He's supposed to be the guy who fights Superman to a standstill with his fists. And they have all these heat vision and explosions and stuff. And I'm just like,
And he doesn't even use vision. It's like this like face explosion. I'm like, what is this?
just like
That's not
heat
Doomsday.
ray coming out of his mouth and ears and eyes.
The best part about Doomsday was watching Wonder Woman kick his ass.
Yes.
But again, they showed it. They showed all of these things. If they just like flashed Gal in that party scene, it would have been great. But no, they showed it in the trailer. So now we know what to expect. I hated that whole fight scene just because I saw it. I already saw it.
I
Also
definitely
like the fact that they nuke him in space. Superman becomes a zombie corpse.
Well, there's a lot of fan service there because that actually happened.
that is actually straight out of a comic book. But
cool.
I
I'm
don't-
glad that worked for the 9 people
But
who
it didn't
were
work.
still
That's
paying
the
attention
problem.
at that part
the
of the movie.
fan service is there, but there's no substance. So
Right.
there's no fan service.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between when you watch like a Marvel movie and you're so engaged in the story that the fan service, like, it's like a hidden joke for those people who know it, but it's still in a better package. So here's the thing. Last week we were talking about Daredevil, and Josh said this show is like Christmas morning, and you open up all the gifts and you're just so excited, and then you're really upset because you didn't savor it. And to that, I would say, if that's the case with Daredevil, Batman Superman is like when your grandma gives you your Christmas gift and you're really hoping it's toys, but it ends up being socks. Like, you really needed socks, but you didn't want socks. So
No, the problem here's honestly what it is your grandmom got you a sweater, but she knitted it 2 sizes too small. So it will never fit you. It'll never keep you warm. It'll never make you happy. But you have to say, "Hey, thanks for the sweater anyway, Grandma." You have to say thank you.
And there was somewhat of like a, I don't know, like a good intention behind it.
There
but it
absolutely
just
was.
fails on every level.
Here's one
there's
character
no
that-
doubt in my mind that there's good intentions behind this entire movie. It
Here's
just
one
failed.
character we didn't talk about who, again, besides Wonder Woman, was done perfectly. We've grazed over it, and that was Alfred.
Oh, he was fantastic.
Jeremy Irons got that character hook, line, sinker, got it down right. He's, again, a moral compass, a reminder for Batman. He got it right. He's super smart, apparently. He's fixing all that shit again by himself.
He's kind of like a hybrid of Lucius Fox and Alfred.
Well, and
which is
Alfred
kinda
has
cool.
always been like that. Alfred has always been kind of the guy who helps repair the tech. He's the ex-military guy who knows how to fight, who is not really just a butler. Like he'll freaking grab a shotgun and shoot a guy in the face if he's trying to break into Wayne Manor. Like and that was great. I love Jeremy Irons.
So that brings me to another part, and I feel that this is something that I maybe had missed because, again, I'm not familiar with the source material. What the fuck was going on with Wayne Manor?
It's already blown up.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of the story of Batman. But we never see anything, so we never... It's like all these questions are left unanswered when they could have used that as the origin rather than Batman's parents dying.
It definitely feels like... And I said this to CJ after his what a shit show text to me. This movie came 3 movies too soon. They needed to have a Man of Steel 2. They needed to have a Batman Ben Affleck movie. And Wonder Woman should have been done before doing this movie. If all of those things were done, this movie would have been great because you didn't need to have the buildup. You wouldn't need to have the backstory because you would have had 3 movies to lay that groundwork. You could have had a Man of Steel 2 with Lex Luthor as the main bad guy and explain all of Lex Luthor's motivations so that we didn't need to see it in this kind of movie. We don't need that. So it definitely feels like you're just kind of picking up in the middle of a race.
Here's the other thing we haven't talked about yet. We actually haven't talked about the fight between these two, and we haven't talked about the fucking goddamn thing that we all got pissed off about, the Martha bullshit. So can we please talk about the actual fight of Batman and Superman together?
Right. And
can we talk about this?
Good
First
show,
off,
CJ,
I love
'cause
the
that's
Tony
where I was
Stark
going.
moment of forging the kryptonite spear. Oh, damn it. Again, that's the wrong movie where Tony Stark isn't actually in this.
So why is it a spear?
Yeah.
Because fuck you, I'm Batman.
Because he wants to stab Superman. He doesn't want to just weaken him. He wants to stab him and kill him.
Bleed.
It brings me back. There's a DC Universe Online trailer where Lex Luthor stabs Superman, with a kryptonite spear. And that's all I was thinking about through that entire thing. I'm like, why does Batman want to do this?
They want to sell a toy? I don't know.
The spear makes no fucking sense.
It is a complete lack of motivation and story and explanation. But the fight itself.
Was
awesome.
There was one part where I actually applauded the movie because I was actually excited for something. 2 moments. One was the reveal of Wonder Woman. She like crosses her arms and she pulls him down and you're like, fuck right.
Batman's line, oh shit.
Yeah. So good.
Like that was great.
So good. And then this moment here where he has Superman by the grappling hook.
He's just dragging him
through those
around
pillars and just that moment right there, right before the worst part of the entire movie. I'm so excited, and then in 3 milliseconds, am crushed, devastated, and throwing popcorn.
Yeah, well,
the fight was really cool. I really did like it.
It was very well done.
I don't understand why Superman continuously flew into a kryptonite cloud, but whatever. He was disoriented from flying. I don't know. The fight was cool.
Here's the thing:
considering he has X-ray vision, he could see through Batman's smoke cloud.
Which he didn't use,
unless it was a lead smoke cloud.
I'm sorry, lead
who knows?
smoke cloud? Can you fucking do that?
Batman can, apparently.
Batman can do anything.
No, but that's the thing. We never even saw Superman use X-ray vision in any of these movies. If he did, he would have obviously never seen this bomb go off in the middle of the Senate. We never even see him use any power besides heat vision and the ability to hear. I'm sorry, the fight. Yeah. I want to hear you guys
let's
talk about the
focus
fight.
on the fight. I will say this just about the action scenes in general. They were very well done.
Very Zack Snyder classic.
Very Zack Snyder, but even more so than that, the way Batman moves and reacts and counter-reacts is very reminiscent of the Arkham games. And that's
Arkham games and the comics.
And that's what we want to see. Like he's highly trained. He's great. And it was awesome to see those two people fight.
And he got like a power boost too.
Yeah.
Like Batman is throwing people through like crates in just like one-handed.
He certainly had the
crap
mushroom to make him the big Batman and not the tiny Batman.
Right.
Yes. Yes. CJ Mario reference break my brain. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was really awesome for the 3 or 4 minutes that fight lasted.
That was the best part about this. This movie is called Batman v Superman, and the fight is not
like
enough
5
to make
minutes
a grilled
long.
cheese sandwich.
And about 45 seconds of it was already given to you in the trailer.
I said, I don't think I said it to CJ, but I definitely did say to somebody else, I could have snipped together all the TV spots and trailers for this movie and gotten most of that end fight scene.
It's on YouTube. They did that.
Oh, yeah,
And they
really?
said,
No
"This-
way, did they
might
really?"
as well watch this because the actual movie sucks.
Oh my God.
and
Can
they
you
did it.
please give me the link so I can put that in the show
Oh
notes?
yeah, I'll give it to you guys. It's like a 2-minute, 30-second thing, and they're like, watch this instead of Batman. Superman.
So good.
That's
Okay,
fantastic.
so the fight we all liked.
but let's get to the end of it.
What the fuck?
So Batman stops from about to shove this kryptonite spear into Superman because their moms have the same name.
Which is a cool thing I never thought about. I never thought about that. All right, like
No.
me and my buddy Dan, who I was just
Do you know
talking
why?
about
Do you know
earlier.
why you never thought about that? Because fuck that.
It doesn't matter. There is nothing. Listen, there needs to be more.
name?
There needs to be more.
Why did you say
If
that
it was just part though, if it was part of the reason that he stopped fighting, I think that would have been cool. But because both characters had pretty much zero motivation to fight each other, then it didn't matter at all.
Save Martha. Why did you say that name? My dead mom.
and that
Fuck that.
I said this to CJ. Apparently, just in that one scene where they're like, "Oh my God, your mom's name is Martha. My mom's name was Martha. We are totally best
my
friends."
God. Like, do you guys want to go out for lattes? You want to go?
It's the Step Brothers
And
moment.
like, you're supposed to have this entire relationship forged between these two men over the fact that their moms share the same name, and that's not how it works. You needed another scene with just the two of them talking and like just an ideological. This is how I do things. This is
I
how
would
I do
have
things.
taken
type
those
thing.
two guys at a diner eating shawarma together over the, is your mom's name Martha? My name's Martha. Do you know a Jeff in high school? I do. He was a douche. Yeah, he was.
Whoa.
And
And then how
I
the
think
fuck does Lois hear this? Superman can barely get a word out. Yeah, I mean, Batman has a
Batman's
hard time
screaming.
hearing him.
Why
He's
is
screaming.
Lois even there? Is the question
No,
outside to
stop
serve as a
asking
plot
logical
device?
questions because you never get the answer.
She is literally becoming a plot device by trying to, like, why is she even there? She's gonna throw the spear into the fucking pool of water and then have to be saved. She's simply just a fucking damsel in distress, which is like exactly what they fought against throughout the entire movie, trying to make her like an empowered woman. This just went
Except she
against
was
it.
a hostage in Africa, and the reason that somebody died, and then she happened to be something
Well,
that Superman has to save.
I'm gonna go. Although I'm gonna help Jeff's debate here in the fact that they succeeded in that in Man of Steel. She was very much independent, very much. I don't need your help. I don't need your protection. She was right there in the thick of it with the army, trying to help stop Zod. And in this movie, they just undid all of that. She was every time you see her, she's very much
the first
waiting for
sequence
Superman
in
to save
Africa.
her.
First sequence in Africa, cool, but to have her have to get rescued again for no apparent reason is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just sexual foreplay. That's all it was. Those two went home and boned.
I mean, this goes into a bigger argument, though, and something that I wanted to kind of talk about overall is
This is
just,
making me angry. This whole conversation is just dragging up all these feelings, and I'm getting angrier.
Get furious.
Well, I want to talk about the story, and just the story as a whole.
What story?
Exactly.
What story?
There-
Okay, hold on. Can I say something real quick?
It's not your podcast too. It's fine.
Here's what I need to say. If you are going to be a director at some point in your life, and you get the Batman movies, and they hand this over to you, don't do the origin story. No one needs it anymore. Here's the problem with this movie, and this will go to the story in a minute because there's part of this that needs to go away. We do not need 20 minutes on the origin story. I don't care how cool you think you can film it. Stop. Just enough. We don't need it. Second thing, what the fuck? Why are these dreams of Batman in there? They make absolutely no sense whatsoever. They don't do anything to get the story along. We already get, again, from the opening sequence after you get past the origin story, we understand that why Batman wants to fight Superman. Leave the dreams alone because that's what's ruining it for you. And the third part to it is this. Because Batman had weird-ass dreams that make no sense, Superman has to have a weird-ass dream that makes no sense. We have to see his dad on top of a mountain and who's obviously dead, but he's not, but he's, why? Why are we having these dream sequences?
Kevin Costner needed something.
Kevin Costner's got a movie
Costner's
coming up in
fine.
April that we'll talk about.
I'm just
later.
kidding. I love him. I love Kevin.
Kevin Costner. Listen, and you would put Kevin Costner in the Fortress of Solitude and have a
Well,
memory
there
of...
is no fortress, is there?
Oh,
there's
that's
just some kind of like ship.
Right, that's right.
And
There's no
then there's
fortress.
another ship that Superman never took out of the city. That's
right.
And then there's like, all this other stuff that
Are there dreams? Batman using guns in a dream.
It's foreshadowing for other movies, and that's exactly what we talked about
the
earlier.
problem is that they're trying to build this universe off of here's just these dream sequences that make no sense. Those are clearly, and I'm talking to the comic book nerds, in that desert dream sequence, those are clearly parademons who are minions of Darkseid.
Yeah,
how
what
Batman?
the fuck was that? Thank you. I don't know who the fuck Darkseid is.
The Omega symbol,
Right,
is there?
But the thing that bothers me most is there is no reason for Batman to have any prior knowledge to this, to have these dreams. And I felt like the dream sequences as a total were a red herring, because the one scene that was real is Barry coming back in time and saying, you were right, Lois is the key, and then he says, I'm too early. And you think that's a dream sequence.
Wait, no.
That's still a dream,
Hold on,
isn't it?
No, I don't think it is.
What he said was because you couldn't understand it.
I understood him. And really, he was just saying, first of all, one of the first things he says was, I'm too early, aren't I? And then he goes on to say, you were right about him. Lois is the key, and then disappears.
I thought it was Robin until you told me.
It
was Robin.
Most certainly the
it's
Flash.
Outworld Flash, it looks like. He has that like face mask.
He's got like this mechanical thing going on, which pissed me off. And
But again, there's no preface to this.
Right.
So we don't know. We haven't seen the Flash come back anywhere else. So why the hell is he doing it now? I don't know.
But that's the problem. That's the problem with the story, is that they're showing you things that are now going to happen in maybe a Justice League movie or Justice League Part 2.
Why couldn't we have just had that Justice League movie? Don't freaking go into the backstory and then show the symptoms of what happened after the Justice League was made. Show those things.
It's a question everyone's asking.
That's what I wanted.
Here's the overall problem. Okay, here when it comes to this story, or lack thereof. Here's the problem. Number one. We don't get the characters. We don't get them. So telling their story is impossible to do because you're trying to rewrite it, but you're doing it in a hurry and you're doing it wrong.
And you're doing it backwards.
Yeah, it's all bad. Number two, when we have the wrong motivations, we get the characters to talk to each other incorrectly and in wrong places. So having them talk at the party was really cool, right? It was great. But the conversation that would happen before these two people were to fight doesn't exist because they don't know each other, and there's no reason for them to be speaking. Even though that Clark Kent has been investigating the Batman, and apparently Batman is aware that Superman exists.
Bruce Wayne's a big deal.
Yeah,
right.
But
he's a big fucking deal.
They're just not there. The villains aren't there, and if the villains can't drive, there's a whole point of a villain, right, is to have their grand scheme thwarted by a good guy, and then the good guy then either completely solves the issue or still leaves something open for him to resolve. And the fact that there's no idea, there's no clear motivation as to why the villain is making this happen, you can't drive the rest of the story. So we got the wrong characters, they're talking to each other in wrong places, and the villain isn't doing anything substantial.
And that's a huge problem.
I didn't know a first draft of a movie could be turned into a movie for $250 million.
But wait, there's going to be an hour more on DVD.
Here's one of my huge issues with the story. So you have Lex Luthor, who has no motivation. We have no idea why he's doing what he's doing. But more importantly, he knows that Clark Kent is Superman somehow. Enough to be able to capture Lois Lane and Martha Kent, and there's no explanation as to why he finds that out. But what bothers me even more is that apparently he knows Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he
gained infinite knowledge through that random ship.
But
that's what he.
But I say nay, apparently. Sir, because he was screwing with them. Because CJ tried to bring this up. Well, he learned from the ship. No. Because he was screwing with them before he even showed up at the ship. He has mail personally delivered to Clark Kent at the Daily Planet, showing pictures of the thug, the Bat Vigilante branded.
That is supposed to be confusing him, but he gets it all at once. It doesn't make any sense.
And for 2 years, he's been returning checks to Bruce Wayne, saying, you murdered your family, blah, blah, blah. Like, to Bruce Wayne, not to Batman. Over the guy in the wheelchair who got crippled during the Metropolis accident. So he's known Batman's been Bruce Wayne for 2 years. No explanation. No reasoning behind it. And Batman's too good to have somebody like Lex Luthor find out who he is. He's just not that careless about his secret identity. He, in the comic book, didn't even tell the Justice League who he was until well into the 90s. Like, they'd been a team for 30 years and no one's known who Batman was behind the cowl, except for Superman. It's a huge miss in the story. There was no explanation behind it, and it bugged me to death.
Here's another part of the story that makes absolutely no sense, and I believe Brian brought this up. Brian and I, we disregarded some of the embargo a little bit for this, just because I couldn't take it anymore.
We were so angry we had to talk about it,
and I still stop myself in sometimes. But
you guys are nerds.
Here's the thing that I really I audibly went boo. I actually booed in a movie theater. Was when they're at the funeral of oh man, they're at Clark's grave. And he goes, I failed him in life, and I will not fail him in death.
You were just trying to kill him.
You just tried to kill him. You just spent all this time trying to kill him. What the fuck are you talking about? You failed him in life. Fuck off.
There was no relationship building there to make that line make sense. Like, it'd be like, okay, well, Batman would be like, all right, well, moving on.
Another dead alien. Dead alien. Score one for the good guys. Let's go find these other guys. So go ahead. Hold on. I didn't hear Jeff's part of the story. I want to hear Jeff's opinion on this.
Well, I mean, I think the entire end of the movie was a fail, because you try to dive into this Death of Superman story arc.
Oh, don't even get
with
into
all these
that.
other
That
just
hurts.
It's like literally they did like the tippy top of the iceberg where maybe there's still ice forming up there, and then they were like, no, Superman's dead, and then they let the fucking gravel or the dirt rise. That completely killed your entire climax. Mm-hmm. The entirety of the movie basically was it didn't matter.
Nope.
Right.
Is what I got out of that.
None of it mattered. And it felt very
disrespectful.
And this is something that, Jeff mentioned
Absolutely.
earlier. It felt very choppy. It felt, you could very clearly tell there was too much going on. And I said this to CJ. It just felt like they didn't realize some of these characters were in the movie, because they're like, let's spend 10 minutes with Batman. Oh shit, we forgot about Superman. Let's spend 10 minutes with Superman. Oh wait, no, Lois is in this too. Let's spend a minute on Lois. And there's Wonder Woman. I completely forgot Wonder Woman. And then on top of that, they ham-fisted these other scenes with these other, I said it.
Okay.
These other heroes.
Oh, they were so bad.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Before we dive into that, we couldn't give the CW the word metahumans. We couldn't just let them have that one thing.
No, we couldn't. But
we have to say,
to
fuck you so hard, CW fans. Not only are we going to take the word metahuman from you, but fuck you, we're recasting the Flash.
Also, Supergirl is having higher ratings over the Arrow, so hopefully that'll be canceled soon.
Anyway, we're not talking about CW shows right now.
I know.
But they just pretty much took this giant horse pill of here's these other characters and just shoved it down your throat.
It's so contrived.
It made no
it is so contrived.
Aquaman on the poster, and he's in the movie for 45 seconds.
And here's the best part. Here's what I find funny, and I have to give credit to my Facebook friend Matt Klein, because I saw this on his Facebook, and he's just like, listen, what you want to out Wonder Woman Batman, that's fine, but you emailed her? Really? you know that crap can be tracked, right? You emailed her from Bruce Wayne's email account. Like, really? Why would you do that? Batman is the character who's just going to randomly show up at Wonder Woman's hotel and be like, hey,
is it
I found that
Batman at gmail.com? Is that what it is?
I'm sure that's taken. I think he had to make something else.
No, it's I'm the goddamn Batman at goddamnbatman.com.
And then hers is I'm not really 1,000 years old. Please ignore me. I'm not really here at yahoo.com.
But yeah, he emails Wonder Woman's file.
Wait. Hold on.
Thing is, I feel like Batman should have known about this.
Wait, hold on. Let's pause. Let's breathe. Let's let the nerd calm down.
I refuse to breathe.
Let us please talk about.
I haven't breathed for 55 minutes right now.
These other superheroes. Let's talk about these teasers. I feel so bad for the guy who plays the Flash,
Ezra Miller.
The poor man just got cast in the role of his lifetime. He's so ecstatic, and we all just gave him the middle finger really hard because he happens to be in a really shitty movie. But all he does is grab some milk and then hit somebody in a blur and then go back to his milk. That's all the man's trying to do.
I'm not angry about him getting the milk or whatever. I just don't think he's a good character. But now that you bring it up, he's the Flash. Shouldn't he be getting like Gatorade or something? He needs those electrolytes.
He needs at least 50,000 calories a day.
He needs like 10,000 calories or something like that, like every hour. Like, milk's not going to cut it, Barry. You got to get something else.
Zack Snyder wrote that scene and it's a milk placement ad. I make it bad. Anyway, okay, so Flash. Besides him warping through the wrong time frame, we don't get to see much. Can you be mad? Is there anything negative you can say about that?
I actually preferred the Flash warping through time scene versus these stupid contrived like Justice League symbols on an email. Like I would have been completely cool without seeing that entire
remember,
scene.
This is Lex Luthor, who's already an idiot who doesn't really get things. So the fact that he made a MySpace page for these guys is not a bad
That's
deal.
fair. And he also added little graphics.
Right,
he added their specific graphics.
He's a visual
to each
man.
one.
He's a visual man.
He can web design. Like obviously he's Mark Zuckerberg.
I really want to talk about the cyborg thing because that actually was
was the coolest part.
That was the coolest one to
about
watch.
those things. Cyborg is an interesting character, and I'm interested to see what they do with him. But again,
What the fuck is the little square? What is
the cube? Is I think that's Kryptonian, right? That's Kryptonian.
It's a piece of alien tech. It's a piece of alien technology. It's like these smart robots things that bond to Vic Stone, and he can communicate with computers and stuff. It's going to be a cool movie.
Did you just tell me it's the thing in Big Hero 6?
Yes. No,
it makes a person.
Effectively,
really is.
Effectively, yeah. It just regenerates and is like a intelligent computer.
I mean,
pretty much.
I've watched Teen Titans Go, and that's the extent of my cyborg knowledge.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Which basically means I know the word waffles.
And booyah!
Yes.
Why is he like just the top half of the nipples length of the torso?
Well, because that's how much human is in him.
Is that it?
That's
Damn.
it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a great character. It's a cool origin story. He gets
That looks like a cool movie.
yeah, and it could definitely be.
I was
cool.
excited for that.
Listen, I'm not discounting any of these characters as much as I want to hate Ezra Miller. We haven't really seen him play the role yet, and I mean, I love Grant Gustin and I love the Flash TV show, but I'm willing to give him a shot. And Jason Momoa is going to be a great Aquaman. There's no doubt about it. But this was not the platform. This was not the way to introduce these characters. This did not get anybody excited about any of those characters besides maybe Cyborg.
Really excited to see Chris Pine, though, standing there all 1850s.
Now, not only
picture.
do they show that picture once, though, they show it fucking twice for no apparent reason.
No. Do you know why they show it twice? Is because the first time you're like, who went to that old timey picture place at Dorney Park? Oh, wait, is that Kirk? That's Captain Kirk.
That's Chris Pine.
Oh, it's Chris
Yeah,
Pine.
so
It's just
to
twice
make
so you
sure
can see
he's
Chris
going to
Pine.
play Steve Trevor.
So here's
Trevor
my
Scott.
one
I'm sorry,
thing.
not
I
Steve
want to say
Trevor.
one thing about that photo. Apparently Wonder Woman's whole motivation for going to the Lex party and stealing Batman's Bruce Wayne's little hacker technology is that she's looking for this photo.
I thought it was nudes, to be honest. I thought that's why she was looking for it. But
Listen,
apparently it's this old timey photo.
Wonder Woman, you're smart. You're hundreds of years old. It's a digital copy. It's still on the LexCorp servers. You just copied it. Like, you're not taking anything from Lex
Oh my
Luthor.
God, you're so right.
It's still
I didn't
out
even think
there.
about that.
It's terrible.
It's still on his computer.
So
he
why?
can still fap to it.
Why do you care?
To it.
Why are you trying to take this from him? Like, if it
my
was a
God.
physical thing that she had to grab from LexCorp, that makes
Well,
sense.
also-
but it's a
true.
digital photo.
Oh my God, you just copied it. You didn't actually steal it.
I don't feel like LexCorp is even a threat to basically anything. Like anything she stands for, I don't feel like.
Well, remember,
she doesn't give a
listen,
shit about the
hold
world
on.
of
No.
men.
The reason she needs to get that picture is because Lex, with that picture, he could do, because when he found out that Batman and
he was
he's
in
just
like
going
a
to fap to
pool.
it. He's just going to fap to
He
it.
cut his hand open and then made a
He's just
Doomsday.
He's just
And
going to
then-
jerk off to the picture, and she just finds that to be creepy.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
fair
yeah,
enough,
that
fair
was
enough.
a huge, like, I
It's
watched
true,
that.
though.
That
They
was, I
just
caught that on
copied
the second
picture.
time.
They didn't even get it off the server. They copied it. Oh my God.
I caught that the second time.
It's
I'm
on
like, why? Why do you care?
It's on RedTube if you Google it.
Hashtag there's a whole lot of Wonder Woman in here. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, that confused me. It felt like, as much as I loved Gal Gadot's performance and I loved Wonder Woman in the movie, it was just a way to just drop her in there. Like, let's just put her in. Like, there's no reasoning behind it. There's no motivation. And when she gets what she wants, she's just pretty much getting a digital copy. Who cares? So,
And it was like a ploy to do Turkish Airlines advertising.
yeah, like,
Because I think she gets on Turkish
she
Airlines.
gets on Turkish Airlines, which really Wonder Woman. You see this thing on the TV while you're headed to the airport. destroying everything. You don't decide to do anything then. It's when you get to the airport and you get on the airplane, Turkish Airlines, that you were like, maybe Turkish Airlines.
I gotta check my email.
Maybe Turkish Airlines like motivated her to go help Batman and Superman. I don't know, but
I am still caught up in the fact that it's just a copy of the photograph. The original is still on the LexCorp server. That's as effective as having a cat walk across a keyboard to write you a letter to an editor. And Brian, I know that could happen to you, but again, it's not a huge issue because the cat to mail ratio in your house is so low.
Now,
I know it's not a daily threat you have.
I thought for sure if I took control of this episode that you wouldn't have a chance to do that.
I got an hour when I saw the meter here hit an hour, and I was like, we haven't made a cat to mail ratio joke yet. Josh is yelling at me. I can hear it. I need to figure one out.
Subconsciously, he's astral projecting to you. And,
he actually came through the little portal here. He goes, "Oh no, I'm a little late."
He's like, I'm too
haven't
early.
made a cat to mail ratio joke.
I gotta wait till an hour.
And then I thought it was a dream, and papers are flying all around me. It was a terrible thing. Okay, so let me ask you the question, because we also have some fan phone calls. I
absolutely wanted to get to those. So CJ, ask your question, and then let's talk about the
what
calls here.
is redeemable if you can give this movie a chance? If you can say, listen, after all is said and done, no matter how massive of a diarrhea we just took on this movie, because it's about an hour of us literally shitting all over this movie, what is the one redeemable thing that came out of this?
Jeff, go ahead.
What is the thing that will give you a little bit of hope? Besides Zack Snyder could possibly get fired from this. Go ahead. What is it?
Jeff, go ahead.
I was just about to say that petition that came to get Zack Snyder off of every DC film. Now, what I genuinely am excited for, you guys already talked about it, was Wonder Woman. I'm also excited for maybe an Injustice spinoff. I'm also excited for Flashpoint Paradox. And, of course, Darkseid, who is going to be the big bad Thanos guy from Marvel in DC. So hopefully they can do this well, and I'm really hoping that they nail it after this failure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, that's pretty much it for me. I liked Ben Affleck again. I'm excited to see any Ben Affleck, Batfleck solo movies. I'm excited for the Wonder Woman movie, but that's really about it. Like this movie, I got out of it. I'm like, and I'm really worried about the future of these movies in this universe. It does not instill a lot of confidence in me.
Follow-up question: does this movie make you nervous for Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because it just, and I've said this every time we talk about this movie, and I've said this every time we've talked about Suicide Squad, that I'm constantly hearing in the back of my head the old Kevin Smith story about him meeting with the Warner Bros. Producers when he was writing the initial draft for a Superman movie, that these people don't know the characters. And this movie pretty much proved it. And it's going to make me even more nervous going into a very experimental movie that Suicide Squad is.
Didn't you tell me that this movie got a standing ovation from the execs?
Yes.
At Warner Brothers?
I did tell you that. They did an advanced screening of this movie, obviously, for the producers, for Warner Brothers. It got a standing ovation. They were so excited. That's when they cast and signed Ben Affleck on for 3 more Batman movies, which I'm completely, fine with. But the fact that they thought that this was so wonderful that it deserved a standing ovation is cause for alarm. And it just proves that these people who are behind the movie don't know what they're doing and don't know what they're talking about.
I do want to take the time to say thank you to all the fans who did call in, send us emails, a couple tweets, about their thoughts for Batman versus Superman. I want to play a couple of the voicemails, some of them all the way through, some of them not. So we're going to have some cut audio in between this too. If you would like to voice your opinion on anything on our show ever, very easy way to do it. You just call 484-373-4119. You have my apologies in advance because we, there's a lot of ringing when you call this. So the phone's going to ring for a little while, but leave a message about this. So I want to start off with the first message that we got, and that is from fan of the show, superfan TD, about his thoughts of the movie.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's TD here. I just want to give you my thoughts on Batman versus Superman. I did see it last week. I saw it midnight release. Friends wanted to go. Might as well go. My initial thoughts on it, I thought it was a really interesting way to represent the movie. It it wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little more comic jokes, just like in the Marvel universe. Starting out, the way that they introduced like Batman like hating Superman, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Just a few things, just a few questions for you guys that I saw that was a little questionable. I know in Batman, he doesn't like using guns. I just wanted to know your thoughts on like why they decided to let him use guns. Like in the Batmobile, has guns, and that one little fighting scene, he had guns, killing people. I don't understand that. Also, number two, when Batman and Superman actually fight, Batman just says, why did you say her name? And Lois comes in and says, oh, that's his mother. I don't think she could have heard him from that far. I just want to hear your thoughts on that one. Just saying, like, I don't think Lois Lane could have heard him say his, Martha's name. Number two, I don't know how Superman found that spear. In the water, there was no glowing light. Lois Lane could have just happened to be in the water. I don't understand how he could have found that. Just a couple of things a couple of questions. It was a good movie. I know a lot of the critics, were hating on it. Guess they were going in expecting it to be funny, and I guess it wasn't. I haven't looked up any of the critics, but just seeing some of the critics hate on it. I just want to know you guys' thoughts on it. So yeah.
Okay. So another part of TD's call was actually something that I had said early in the episode, and I forgot to give TD credit, so I owe him that one. When I said, how the hell did Lois hear Superman when he said, save Martha, save Martha? That was TD's reference. It popped into my brain, and I need to give him credit for that. There's a second part to this. Part of his voicemail actually, whether you know it, TD, you're kind of intuitively tuned into what Warner Brothers is now panicking about. First off, I think you noticed we hated the movie too. Second thing is they're actually reshooting parts of the Suicide Squad to add more jokes. They're trying to add more humor to that movie. So you're not the only person I know who was coming in expecting a little more humor like you would in the Marvel Universe. I wasn't expecting lighthearted humor when I was coming into this movie. So I want to bring those 2 points up. Number one, you deserve credit. I'm sorry I didn't give you the proper credit. Number two, dude, you're right. They're going to start adding some jokes. And the other questions then. What were the other questions, please?
Here's the thing, and I want to reference those two things real quick before we move on to the other questions. Lois hearing Superman say Martha, I have no real good reason besides the fact that maybe some way when Superman...
there's no good reason.
Maybe when they're having sexy time, she gets super hearing. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something that's
just be in the movie for some.
She's actually Kryptonian too.
It's transferred through the fluids. I don't know because there's no reason behind it.
Move on.
The comedy piece, and I'll tell you right now, I was not expecting any comedy just because I remember reading months and months ago that they were trying to do this in a dark and gritty. There's that term again.
It was
direction.
episode 3, by the way, is when this first trailer came out. We have been talking about this movie
for months.
Dark and gritty.
But they were very, very insistent on saying we are not doing what Marvel's doing. We are doing something different and darker and just all
dumber.
around different. And it failed on every aspect, and which is probably why. Listen, we got to completely do a 180 now. We got to start getting some comedy in these movies. It's a shame. I did.
Hold on, Jeff looks like he's going to explode. You okay,
Jeff?
Yeah. No. Okay. So I wanted to share a quick story from a guy who I saw at Wawa. He told me when I was just referencing this movie in conversation with the cashier that his 8-year-old son wanted to fucking leave the movie. Right? This is like true stories that happen just in general. Like, this is a problem, and DC needs to recognize that you have no likable hero. Batman's a dark one, Superman's a light one. Make it fucking right.
And Jeff actually brought up the guns aspect too, so I'm curious to hear what you think about Batman using guns in this movie. Is it warranted? Is it out of his character? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, obviously, I love the Batman character. I just did not see his motivation for doing these things. If the story would have been given to me in a different way, I guess I could get behind that. Because the comics see him use guns occasionally and only kill when necessary. Now, Dark Knight Returns, there's one major death, right? And I thought this movie would follow that a little bit, and I was just kind of disappointed that he killed so many people. There were like 18 deaths.
He uses guns against people like Darkseid, like Superman.
Right.
So it made sense. Like Doomsday, he's going to use a gun or a grenade launcher or whatever he has during that. The other part is, obviously a dream sequence. So, I mean, you really can't put a whole lot of stock in that. But you can't, the guns on the Batmobile just randomly taking out thugs, that made no sense. And it's completely against character. So I was not happy about that at all. And another miss about how they just don't get the characters. The other question
the spear
was,
question. I
was
have a
him finding the
theory.
spear.
I want to keep this short. Very easy theory. It's kryptonite. It's a poison. It's like an allergic reaction. I can't think of the word. Radiation kind of thing. I think you can just sense yourself getting weaker and weaker and closer and closer and closer to it. Maybe this is when he uses X-ray vision and we don't fucking know. The answer to TD is there is no good answer. There's so many holes in the story. You just can't have it. So thank you, TD, for your call. Did we get all his questions, Brian?
We did indeed.
Perfect. TD, if we missed something, tweet at us and let us know. So let's move on to our next caller. This next caller is a gentleman from work where Brian and I are every day, and he actually liked Batman vs. Superman. He is not a comic book fan, not a comic book nerd. He just started listening to the show a few weeks ago. His name is Jamala, and I pressured him into making this phone call, but I really wanted to hear an opinion of someone who isn't a true believer like us, as Josh would say, and get their perspective. So here is Jamala.
I like to just say that I like the Batman and versus Superman movie. I thought it was decent. I thought it was awesome. Thought it was clever. The things that I liked about, well, I'm a superhero fan, so, the fact that they putting everything together, like the Marvel, did theirs, is kind of exciting. I actually think Ben Affleck did a great job as being, Bruce Wayne as well as Batman. I like the dude that played Superman as well. I know it was a little different than the normal stereotypical comic book hero, but then again, a lot of things has changed. Back then, Superman and Batman was scrawny as hell. And they were all not very, like charismatic type people, but that changed over the years. So I think it's changing with the times. I think, I don't know. I think there was a lot of things that I didn't like about it. Like, I get that, his parents died talking about Batman, but he was like 6. So, 30 years, he kind of should be a little better. Go see somebody about that. But without that, I think everything is good. I think the general plot was awesome. And I like where they're setting everything up to go.
So what I heard from Jamala's voicemail is, get over it, Batman. You're a whiny baby.
Hey. Hold on, let's focus first. Let's kind of get what this voicemail's about, and we can kind of hit that. So thank you, Jamala, for calling in and giving us the non-nerdy perspective. The guy who likes watching the superhero movies and noticing that there's some clear differences. That Marvel is different than DC, but they're still trying to set something up. You're getting what the general audience is finding out, that this is a setup movie, and I'm glad that everyone is able to catch on to that. I also agree with you. Yeah. And this is something I've heard a lot, that this Superman is different than the stupid, hokey Christopher Reeve stuff. And we're going in a different direction. I think you'll notice that we think it's the wrong direction. We think it's too dark, too gritty, too soon. Ben Affleck rocked as Batman. Fuck yes, he did. I don't necessarily know about the get over it, your parents dying when you were 6 thing. I mean,
maybe he's talking to Zack Snyder using that footage. Get over using the origin story because we're all bored of it.
We don't need it anymore.
You know what, Jamala? That's how we're going to interpret it. That you were smart enough to know the origin story is overplayed. And listen, they are setting up. There is some cool things to go, as we talked about. There is some cool things coming down the pipeline. We're just really worried in how they're being executed. Anybody else have anything they want to add for Jamala's call?
No. Thank you, Jamala.
What did you think about his perspective, though, as a non-comic book fan? Do you think that's what we're hearing from people who aren't comic book fans?
This is what I want to hear. I love hearing that. As a comic nerd, I loved when people come in and love to see these superhero movies. So like, if people enjoyed it, that's great. Except there's so much better of a story to be told if they do it.
If they do it a
to the
little
comics,
different. I mean, yeah, I definitely have to say, I feel like people who aren't a huge fan of the source material, it is a little bit of a mixed bag. You're going to have those people who enjoy it because they're just going to see stuff blow up, and it's the Michael Bay effect, and that's fine.
I envy him that he doesn't have some of these characters ruined, that he gets to come in with a fresh perspective for these guys, and he doesn't get nerd angry rage like we are. So I envy you, Jamala. I want that. I want a clear head.
Jamala, I'm really happy for the opinion. I think Jeff and I and CJ are definitely on the same page when we say this movie was good. It was just not as good as it needed to be. It needed to be a lot better to build the whole universe on, and it's a shame that it wasn't.
This is not the movie we deserve. All right.
No. It's nor the
It
movie.
is the Batman. It is the Batman we
the
deserve.
Batman movie.
Minus the killing part.
Our next voicemail is from David.
Hey, this is Dave Immendorf. I'm calling with my thoughts about Batman vs. Superman. So, first of all, I want to say that Ben Affleck was a revelation as Batman. He was fantastic. Probably better than Christian Bale, definitely in the top 3 Batmen in history. Everything else kind of sucked, though. I mean, let's be honest. In a movie that was meant to establish everything that's to come after, it forgot to establish the things that are happening in the movie. Like, I have no idea why Lex Luthor hates Superman, is against Superman, and is building Doomsday. I have no idea why Wonder Woman's even there. Where the hell did she come from? The movie just forgets to have heart. It forgets what superhero movies are really about, and it forgets to tell us why anything is happening. This is Dave Immendorf again. I forgot to mention that in a movie that pulls from several comic book story arcs like The Dark Knight Returns, The Death of Superman, and hints at things like A Death in the Family, Under the Red Hood, it doesn't pull enough from any of the one stories that it's pulling from to form a cohesive story. The problem is it's 2.5 hours with an hour's worth of good fight scenes and an hour and a half's worth of mind-numbing storytelling. Thanks.
The sad thing is David just summed our whole hour podcast in 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
He really did, but we went into detail.
I know, but he's absolutely right that this movie, I love this line, that this movie forgot to establish what's actually happening in the movie. What was the line? What did he say?
And the heart. The heart is what's missing.
That's the big thing that I took from David's voicemail. I mean, I absolutely agree. Ben Affleck, definitely top 3 of all the Batmans. I really think he did a fantastic job. But the heart, and you nailed it right on the head, man. It's missing just that thing that makes superhero movies tick, and that's just the whole feel good aspect of it. And that's what you're supposed to get out of a superhero movie, or even out of just an action or fantasy movie where there's good fighting evil. And you did not get that. It was a huge miss, and
even just as a drama, it failed.
Yeah,
because there was no compelling villain. There was none of that. So I think you're exactly
the line
right.
that this is a movie that is meant to establish the future, but forgot to establish what is happening in the movie. That should be on the fucking poster. That's the review. That's the review. That's it. That's the right thing. And you know what?
There might be a Kryptonian symbol for that. I don't know.
It's the middle finger. So here's the thing. The other thing I agree with too is that I do think that Ben Affleck is in the top 3 Batman of history. And it's funny because in the last episode of The Big Bang Theory, or 2 episodes beforehand, whatever, whenever you're listening to this, there was an episode of Adam West in The Big Bang Theory. They actually rated Batman in a car with Adam West present. And I would actually put Affleck in the top 3. Absolutely. So absolutely. I think he's right off. Dave, you are more eloquent than we were when it came to the art, because you actually put your rage aside to actually be smart about it. And I think you're absolutely.
It's not
absolutely
rage,
right.
CJ. It is passion. We are all passionate
dude,
about
it's
this.
Also,
rage.
dig the references you cited. They're exactly right. They did all those things, but failed at every one.
Absolutely. It was they try. It's one of those. They deserve that gold star that says you tried. You really tried. You tried so hard.
Can they get half?
This is the No Child Left Behind of superhero movies.
Oh shit!
I dropped the mic at that.
Warner Brothers, you get the participation badge of superhero movies because you got it out there. Good for you. You just failed on every level.
My friend Rob Schmel, who I've been friends with for over 10 years, left us several voicemails. I will say, however, though, Rob, there was a technical problem. The voicemail kept cutting you off, and your audio didn't come through very clear. So unfortunately, I can't play everything that you left. I can hit some highlights. The first thing is that Rob, just like me and many of us, grew up with the animated series of Batman. That's how we were introduced to this character. And when you look at him in that role, he is stealthy, he is smart, he, just like Brian said, checks, then double checks, then triple checks everything that goes on. He uses his gadgets, his knowledge, and his power for good and not for evil. And he's there to make sure that everything is taken account for and justice is served. And he's judge and jury, but he's rarely executioner, right? It's just not something that we see in that role. And then when you look at Doomsday, he is also the one. I owe him credit again. So sorry, I'm not poaching. Just these things are coming out because I listened to these before. He was the one who said that Doomsday looked like the Lord of the Rings character. That comment which is right on. And I mean, the character design is wrong. And Rob is a fantastic artist, and I'm sure I would love to see what he would draw as Doomsday instead of the bullshit that we got. But let me ask the main correlation, the main thing that I'll ask to you guys. I, too, am a person who grew up with the Batman, the animated series. Do you think this movie could have used that as a source material guide, or do you think that parts of this were inspired by that? How would you tie in the animated series to this movie?
I think that Bruce Timm, who was the brain behind the animated series, should have been the brain behind this movie universe. The man knows the characters. The man knows how to create a cohesive story and still stay true to the source material, but also do new things that reinvent the characters. I mean, that show did so much for the characters that got integrated into the comic book because they were so good. Not even just Harley Quinn, but like Mr. Freeze's origin story and all this other
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow, like the things that he did with existing characters and just elevated them to a different level on a cartoon. I would have loved to see him behind the camera or behind the scenes, or at least telling people what to do with this movie universe. So I agree.
Do you hope, if Jeff and I, our petition that we signed, we didn't start it, but the one that we signed actually goes through, and we do get Zack Snyder out of there, do you think he can be involved? Do you think that's something that he'll ever...
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he can. I don't think Goyer can be. They need a, what's his name? Kevin Feige?
They need a Kevin Feige.
Excuse my pronunciation. Yeah. They need someone who has a cohesive mind for storytelling, and it's obvious that they just try to throw all this stuff in. Maybe it's for fan service. Maybe it's just because they had no other idea. But like, you can't let fans see these aspects of story arcs and not actually fulfill those story arcs, or else you fail.
And Rob was actually intrigued too, and I don't know if we actually truly answered it or addressed it besides just mocking it. Rob was also intrigued as to how the fuck are these two cities across the river from each other? Is there anything in the source material that even hints at this?
Like I said, they are supposed to be, maybe not across the bay, they are supposed to be relatively close to each other because, again, I'll point they're
East Coast.
Batman issue like 615 or 655, like the Hush storyline. He just takes a train into Metropolis, and it's not like an all-day event. He's on a train for maybe 2 hours, so they're close together, but they're not that close together. They're definitely not that close.
Maybe
together.
He boom tubed. Cyborg reference. Boom.
hopefully we've answered the main questions. We have no idea why Doomsday looks the way he does. He's fucking stupid. The cities are absolutely way too close together. I agree. I don't think a chopper should be able to take you to and fro in a reasonable place that the Daily Planet could pay for it out of its like petty cash fund. That makes no sense to us either. Ben Affleck was phenomenal. He agreed with us too that Ben Affleck did a great job. Henry Cavill did a great job, although he was too moody. He was a very we Superman. We agree with you. So Rob, again, my dear friend, my buddy, I'm sorry your audio got kind of damaged while we were transcribing it into an MP3. I promise if you call in again, we'll make it up to you. So please call again. I definitely want to have your voice on the show.
So that being all the voicemails, let me just say thank you to David, Jamala, Rob, TD for calling in, leaving your opinions. We highly encourage you to call in again, and thank you so much for sharing your opinions about this movie. And we look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. As long as we don't have anything else to say about this movie, is there any other wrap up, anything that we're missing, CJ or Jeff, that we want to talk about, go over?
I just very, very, very briefly want to say that this movie has confirmed everything I thought from episode 3. I'm so glad that we are done talking about this movie. I need to eat this confetti and ravioli right now.
Stroke that ego very gently.
Listen, you guys give me a lot of shit for my opinions when it comes to movies, but I was absolutely right about Star Wars, and I was absolutely right about this movie. I'm very sad Josh couldn't be here to rub his goddamn face in it, but I've been saying from the 3rd episode that we started of this show, this movie was trouble. It's over now. Now it's time for me to be right about something else. That's the only time I'm going to toot my own horn.
We're so glad that CJ was right. Thank you, Warner Brothers, for proving CJ correct.
I will say this, though. Brian also wrote a review of this movie. I don't know how kind it's going to be compared to this podcast.
Read it and find out.
But go to thatkindofnerd.com and go check it out for that. So, and again, I'm just terrified of Suicide Squad now. I don't know. I'm actually not going to see it.
Absolutely.
Josh,
I'm
by the way,
going to see it.
As of right now, at the time of this recording, another reason Josh wasn't able to come onto this show is he didn't see the movie, and I don't think he's going to.
It's very possible after we especially after if he listens to this podcast.
It is Friday, April 1st. It's April Fool's Day, and it's not a joke. Josh has not seen this movie yet.
So we hope that Josh eventually sees it, but he probably won't. But if we don't have anything else to say, I would like to sign off real quick in a very special way. Hang on.
CJ, it is time to end the show. Thank you, listeners, for listening to our review of Batman vs. Superman. It was very weird. I thought I broke the bat.
No.
It turns out Warner Brothers did. So thank you again for listening to the show and making us your drive around the neighborhood, your walk to work, whatever CJ says at the end of these shows.
You're walking to work?
I am assuming they work 5 minutes away. CJ!
He shut down all the public transit. They can't bus or anything.
Superman has destroyed the city. Everyone is walking to work right now. So thank you again, listeners. You can reach us and talk to us about your opinions. Again, we are on Facebook at That Kind of Nerd, and on Twitter, you can tweet us at That Kind of Nerd, or you can be like Dave, Jamala, TD, and Rob and share your voice so that you don't have to listen to a wonderful Bane impression. Just call the That Kind of Nerd number.
And I can't remember the number.
484-373-4119, Bane.
Yes, CJ, that number there. Please call in.
Hey, Bane, will you also tell them that we're on Instagram, too? It's We Are That Kind of Nerd.
I think you already did it.
I know, but I want to hear it in the Bane voice now.
Please follow
No, I don't. You know what? I don't want to
Instagram.
hear it anymore. I changed my mind. I will say this. Please stay tuned for a special episode. We're going to give you a twofer. We're going to talk about April movies in episode 49.5 as well. So thank you. Thank you, Jeff, by the way, for coming on for this week's episode. It was a pleasure having you.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Now we are officially go. Thank you, Bane, for that wonderful outro. We will see you guys next week, or if you're going to be awesome enough, see you at the next episode, 49.5.
Guys, do you have an extra hour of footage that I can see after the movie's release? Because I want to watch it.
It exclusively stars Bane breaking things everywhere.
Make sure you leave out all the good parts and then put in all the shit parts, and that'll be like Batman, Superman. This is the No Child Left Behind of superhero movies.
Warner Brothers, you get the participation badge of superhero movies.
You guys are nerds.
A little boom, boom, boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.